Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the CSL. My name's Toppies. Excited to be here with you guys this evening, joined by Gorgon the Wonder Cow. Before we start talking about the draft, let's talk about some CSL stuff that you need to know. First off, we are hiring a social media manager. Head over to the cstarleague.com for more information. If you want to work in esports, this is the way to do it. Number two, the Midwest Campus Clash is a $25,000 tournament happening April 8th at Columbia College in Missouri. Registration for the qualifier is open until the 22nd, and they begin on March 5th. So you missed a chance to register, but do make sure you watch to support the growth of college esports. Basically, a $25,000 tournament in the Midwest for college students. Pretty kick-ass. Big shout out to our sponsors, Band Gaming. They're a social app of the CSL with many features like groups, boards, calendar functions, polls, chat, and as of recent, call functionality. Band is a premier social experience for you and fellow gamers alike. Join the CSL community at band.us/@cstarleague. Twitch, nothing but gratitude for the largest streaming platform in gaming to support college esports. From PAX East and West and many more, the CSL wouldn't be what it is today without the help and support of Twitch. So thanks, guys. And also a big shout out to our newest member of the CSL family, Asus Republic of Gamers, the providers of everything esports, from all of their wonderful products such as monitors, laptops, and routers to graphics cards and motherboards inside or outside your rig. You can't win unless you've got the best gear, and that comes from Asus. All right, those are a little bit of where we're coming from tonight. Now, let's talk to the man who is here for the analysis, the master of planning, Gorgon the Wonder Cow. How are you doing tonight?
Doing very well. I'm excited to be the man who happens to be here for. We're just gonna go to the man, whoever's here. That's what we're gonna touch on.
Well, I would have taken Zingle, except that he's just not around. No, I'm kidding. Gorgon and I, we've been casting together for what, 3 years now, nonstop. So it's more than that, yeah.
Like 80.
You're like a part of me.
80 years.
Sent me a gift when my son was born. I didn't send you one when you moved, so that really puts us on equal playing field, I think. So good stuff there. Gorgon, real quick, before we talk about the draft, I want to bring this up. So this is a unique game. It's UCB versus Purdue, or boots to asses, I guess, as they're going with here.
An S got cut off, but boots to assess.
Boots to assess. So that's they use shoe footwear to assess their progress. That said, this game is important for both of these teams. Whoever wins this one goes to third place in their group. Now, that might not sound that impressive, right? I know what you're thinking. Third place, Toffee's like, what? But the point here is Denver is going to have fourth after this game no matter what. Purdue is 4-2. Berkeley is 5-1. If Purdue, who's been sort of running even-keeled this tournament, wins this, they move to the third spot versus UC Berkeley, who would secure very comfortably that third position. Important because I'm not great at math, Gorgon, but there is a chance that we may only see the top 4 positions in this bracket advance to the playoffs. So you want to make sure you're in a position to go play at the LAN for the big money, right? So this is a big game. Both these teams want to secure that and guarantee their position by locking up number 3.
Yeah, both these teams want this game pretty badly because, we're getting off of that last series had a little bit of a rain delay, right? And both these teams waited patiently in lobby, all 5 of them ready to go. Nobody wanted to accidentally get disqualified or back out of the game, even though we were starting an hour late, which, if the game didn't matter, we may have seen something like that.
Exactly. And I will say boots to assess, or Purdue, is in my time zone, so they were willing to stay up a lot later to make this thing happen. So thank you to them, as well as to, I hope that they perform well in spite of how late it is getting. And the fact that I might remind you, I told you earlier, we've got some backups because I have a tornado warning in my area. Purdue is actually farther north than I am and is right smack in the middle of the tornado warning. So they're also playing with the weather against them. So best of luck to those guys. Now, let's talk about the draft a little bit. Talk about what you're seeing so far.
Yeah, Weaver is an increasingly popular pickup in the current meta. He, simply put, does a lot of things really well that are very highly valued right now. And what is not very highly valued are holding, channeling spells like Bane's Ultimate that traditionally make it very difficult for Weaver to survive, right? You're really relying very heavily on unreliable stuns for the bulk of the current meta, which makes Weaver particularly good. He split pushes, he does a lot of damage, he takes advantage of the jungle pretty effectively. most importantly of all, he wasn't damaged when 7.00 changed the layout so that stacking ancient camps is no longer really a thing. Lone Druid, a very popular hero that we've been seeing a lot of for quite a while. The recent patch did not really do anything to knock him down at top levels of play in terms of pubs or pros, but definitely had an impact on him in terms of low level pub play. Not what we're seeing here. Otherwise, we're really just seeing a lot of very common picks.
Yeah, a lot of common picks, a lot of go with what you know. These are not teams that are interested in sort of playing there. This is what we do best. It's okay if we mess up a game. They want to come out strong. They want to use a proven recipe, and that's what we're seeing so far. UCB has picked up the Venge, the Weaver, and the Timbersaw. Just in case you're distracted, you're not paying attention to the screen right now. I dig that. I like it. This is a very mobile lineup, right, Gorgon? I mean, these guys have the ability to get in and out of fights. They're going to be very difficult to kill. When you talk about that, what do we want to say, 13 to 28 minute mark, it really feels like UCB already has an insane amount of not only kill potential, but just team fight potential. They've got picks and they've got fights. Is Purdue prepared to handle that?
Yeah, so I think the issue with UCB is they're very mobile, but unless they collapse and have very strong positioning, a lot of their heroes are pretty item dependent, right? Weaver is a hero that we usually see hold off until he gets either a Dragonlance or traditionally a Lincoln's, which is even more expensive, right? Before we really see any serious engagement. The Timbersaw really needs to get a Bloodstone before he seriously engages anywhere. Vengeful Spirit provides a lot of lane damage, but in terms of actual potential to set kills up, often you need to wait for that level 2 ult before you have the range to make big kills happen. So UCB may be in a position where they're looking at more of a mid-game style play. Of course, with the right leveling, Weaver's Swarm can be extremely effective early game.
Right.
And Vengeful Spirit's Vengeance Aura can be pretty effective, especially in combination with Wave of Terror.
Yeah.
So you could see some early lane kills, but I think once the laning phase breaks down, Boots to assess probably have a pretty sizable advantage with the strength of the Bear, with the strength of Stampede, with the potential to kill coming out of a Glimpse combo as well.
Now, I'm assuming, and I guess I could be wrong here, that Undying's tombstone damage from the zombies is physical, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So that, I mean, I think relevant early game when you talk about the idea that, you know, they have a lot of armor reduction capable very, very early. So the pick-off potential coming out of the Undying, Weaver, Vengeful Spirit trio is going to be really high, especially once Venge hits 6 and can keep you sort of in tombstone range even longer. So bears are scary.
That's a really good observation. Is that there is a lot of negative armor here to go with tombstone.
So, and to me, Cal seems like a team that likes to do that. They like to get off the line early. They've got a sprinter's mentality versus a cross-country runner's mentality. They want to come at you fast. They want to put you on a back foot that feels unrecoverable. Whereas Purdue's draft looks like the kind of thing I see from an engineering school. It's Lone Druid, Tinker, split push potential, Centaur War Runner with lots of escape and initiation, Disruptor with control. It seems like they sort of want to cover all aspects of this game and be able to fall back on the split push should they need to, or build themselves a very aggressive pick-off Tinker. What kind of build do you expect from that Tinker? Is he going to focus on split pushing, or do you think he's going to be focused on getting pick-offs, making Vengeful Spirit's life completely miserable?
Yeah, I think we'll probably see a Bulba style build, which is that March of the Machines focus. Partially just because zoning out near towers is going to be really effective against UCB, right? They only have one hero that really pushes towers effectively, and that's Weaver. If you can lay down a lot of March of the Machines, even if Weaver gets a Lincoln's, even if Weaver is too mobile for you to really kill, you can force him away from the tower with just the Tinker, leaving you open to use that Lone Druid to knock down towers, leaving the rest of your team open to go try to find a kill on the Timbersaw or the Undying. I think that's probably the call.
Makes sense. All right, so we'll see how that goes with them. UCB looking for, I would assume, their final core in this position, presumably the mid. Boots to assess. I'm going to use it all night. Picks up the Bane as their last grab, so a little bit more control. And I like that. The Enfeeblement, I think, is very strong against Weaver. and can cause him some trouble.
Now, you'll remember that Bane was the one hero that I mentioned as being not super popular in the meta, but being really good against Weaver. Also really good against Timbersaw. And so far, there's only one hero that can interrupt that channel, right? So for Fiend's Gript, only Vengeful Spirit is going to be able to do anything about that. The Enfeeble, as you mentioned, is pretty good here, but really I think the Fiend's Gript is where the money is at.
I think when you talk, especially about early game, much of Weaver's power comes from the ability to sort of manage those Germinate procs, right? Especially in lane harass, use non-Germinates to get last hits, harass with Germinate, get kills with that. Enfeeble, if I remember correctly, takes the damage off of both attacks. So it's something that
Germinate just acts like a normal attack.
Right.
So if you have a reduced attack damage for any reason, your Germinate attack will also be reduced.
Which I think I will look to see how it affects it, but it does feel like this has the potential, especially in the early mid-game transition, which it looks like Purdue is going to be trying to push themselves through to win in sort of the mid-game. That could be really strong against the Weaver. The problem now is that Alchemist comes out, a hero who should have the space to farm as much as he wants to. I feel like he might even have a good mid-game up against this Tinker. What do you think about that Alchemist? I know you don't love the Alchemist picks generally. What do you think about him in this lineup?
It's going to be mid, and I think that's a really tough lane against the Tinker. He's very right-click dependent to ensure last hits. He's very last hit dependent to get his mid-game, and laser mischance is very difficult to deal with. Moreover, until he gets level 6, he's a little more vulnerable to burst damage than most mids are.
Makes sense. All right, guys, the game is getting underway as we load into this bad boy right now. Let's get the map loaded. There we go. And this should be a pretty good match. Here we go. We are in. This is going to be game 1 of Purdue versus Cal. And a matchup to determine who secures their position in the top of the bracket and who will be hoping to make their way through the playoffs. So a little bit of a pause, because if there was no pause, it wouldn't be the CSL or Dota in general. Remember the old days when you used to get like a good 2 to 3 minute pause at the start of every pro game 100% of the time?
Dude. I mean, it is, unless you're at a major, we're looking at 2 to 3 minutes. I remember one time remember back when I used to cast Southeast Asia as standard for Dota, like I was their Southeast Asia guy for Join Dota. One time I did a 45-minute game opening pause at this stage in the game. 45 minutes at 4 a.m. That was the thing. So
I remember you and I sitting around for anything that was overseas, basically, for just hours on end waiting for those pauses and stuff to end, especially when you got behind the Great Firewall. That said, though, let's do some quick introductions for the team. We'll take advantage of the pause in order to accomplish that on the Dire side, and this will be Cal, I believe, playing Dire. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's hard because they don't give us the thing anymore. So Cal,
it's Purdue doing Dire. Yeah.
Purdue on Dire. That's right. Okay. So Purdue will be on Dire. Let's do some quick introductions for them. It's going to be Regulus playing the Tinker. We're going to have the Disruptor played by DL. We're going to have Hoi Ho playing the Lone Druid. Centaur Warrunner will be run by Fatality. And last but not least, Easy Life will be on the Bane.
All right. And here for UCB on the Radiant side, we've got Yasuroka Yanabe is going to be taking that Vengeful Spirit out. K-Set is farming on the Alchemist. Endure is bugging out on the Weaver. Delicious Don Burry is shambling about on that Undying. And Blackjack is taking Timbersaw out for a whirl.
Delicious Don Burry indeed. Make me hungry. All right, let's get set up. Last Hit Tonight chart is up for you guys to keep an eye on as this game gets underway. My name's Toppies. That's my partner in crime, Gorgon the Wonder Cow, and this is the CSL. If you are just tuning in, brought to you by the good people at Band, Twitch, and of course, Asus Republic of Gamers. This is game 1 of a game 3 series, getting started late, but that means good competitive Dota all night long, baby. It should be a lot of fun. Now, let's watch the lineups. Right now, it does feel like there's a bit of an onus on our Radiant team, on the guys here. K-Set especially needs to sort of do well in the mid against that Tinker and get off the ground correctly, and they don't want to give up any lead here because that split push and mid-game potential coming out of the Dire is going to be very, very strong for Purdue.
This is actually really smart what the Radiant side are doing here to make sure that their Alchemist gets a bounty rune. They're invading their opponent's jungle where they did already TP out and drop a ward down. And this is particularly important in this game because there's a lone druid on the other team who will almost certainly be going off lane,
Mhm.
and that bear can steal runes.
Right.
So you don't want to go to your own safe lane or off lane because that bear is probably going to be out scouting.
True.
And so basically you have two options. You can either try to wait on your own rune and hope that your opponents don't invade, which is a pretty predictable call, or you can move into your opponent's space and worst case scenario, you end up in a 4-on-4 fight, right?
Right.
The lone druid will not be there, guaranteed.
You get a 4-on-4, you for sure get one rune, and then in this case, Alchemist was able to get his hands on both to start out nice and strong. So a good start for KSED, KSED, Keelsteeled, however you want to call it. Regulus is going to be playing that Tinker in the position. We're going to keep an eye on their matchup. I don't expect early kills, but I do expect a lot of back and forth harassment. Now, where the kills I expect to happen are going to be down here in the bottom lane. Easy Life already harassing Endure, who's getting very deep here because he wants to fight DL. They brought in the potential gank. They're pinging out Ho-Ho, but Endure is in some serious trouble. He's going to be the first one to go down. The Radiant rotation came in, but it didn't come in quite fast enough, and I think they underestimated how much damage Thunderstrike can cause in the early stage of the game.
Yeah, also, Weaver is not very mobile at level 1 Shukuchi. It's a 12-second cooldown. It's great for offlane because you really shouldn't be in danger in offlane more than once every 12 seconds, but
Right.
Against an aggressive try, you absolutely need to be playing more safe than that.
Absolutely. No,
at level 1.
that Radiant had an aggressive try and ended up with an aggressive fail, as they could not deal with what came out of the Dire. And I don't know if they'll be able to at this point. I mean, Delicious Donburi did pick up the Decay, level 1. No Tombstone yet, but he's already low. He's getting harassed on all sides. DL regenning to full is going to come forward and immediately have that Thunderstrike to put on Donburi, which should drop him pretty low. Easy Life taking some shots. Donburi will go down. Thought it might happen. Endure wants to finish Easy Life, but it will also expose him to some danger as he's really far forward. Easy Life survives. Endure drops down to half health, is getting chased by the bear. He comes back around to do some harass and then jukes into the trees. So he'll live, but look at this. Easy Life already back at full health. Endure by himself. 2 kills to the wind, and a tough start going for the guys on the Radiant side, for Cal.
Yeah. When Weaver hits level 3, this lane could completely turn around.
For sure.
Maybe level 4 now because he got Geminate Attack as his next move, which that makes sense because you do want to be able to harass well and you want to be able to farm well. And Geminate Attack helps you with both of those. What it doesn't help you do is offset hero damage onto your opponents, particularly because you're up against a tri-lane with a Bane. Right, and that Bane is going to reduce...
Real quick, KSED's going to go down in the mid to Regulus, who had a full wand charge, is able to use that to get himself out of trouble, as Donburi and the Venge TP in to help. Interesting. Okay, continue with... I'm sorry, I wanted to make sure that we saw the Alchemist kill, because I think that's pretty important that Regulus was able to get his hands on that early on.
Absolutely. I was actually watching that kill and continued to talk for no apparent reason. Yeah. So it looks like they're going to leave the Weaver alone right now, which is okay for the Weaver as long as he gets out and gets these last hits. That Geminate Attack level will end up paying itself off. But you really do need to get some early swarm if these pretty aggressive supports in the Vengeful Spirit and the Undying are going to be worth their weight in this lane.
Especially when we talked about what it felt like their idea was this increased armor reduction early on was going to be part of their pickoffs. And they've been playing aggressive as if that was the case. But if you can't build Swarm because you're desperate for survivability and last hits, that really puts a monkey wrench in the whole system. And as we've seen in the CSL, that can cause a lot of troubles long term.
There's additional synergy there as well, in that with Decay, you're reducing the total HP of your opponents in that lane. So relative to the total HP bar, the Swarm does a lot more damage, even not considering the negative armor that it does. So there's a lot of cross-platform synergy in this lane. But at level 3, with no levels of the Swarm, it looks like Weaver's given up on the idea of taking kills here, and instead basically treating himself as a glorified offlaner.
Yep, and I think that's what it comes down to. The problem with that lane is it has great cross-platform synergy, as you said, which I think is a really phenomenal way to state that. However, it requires your entire lane to be 2 to 3, right? So you sort of have to maintain the status quo and get experience for everyone. But the second that rotations are required, like you see Alchemist in the mid getting attacked on the ganks, it throws off that entire time frame. And like you said, Weaver just has to sort of commit to being frustrated. And I think it could really, really work against them in the long term. I mean, Endure's having a really hard time staying relevant in this lane.
Yeah, the big problem here, too, it looks like we might actually have a fight coming out. If the Weaver shows himself here, he could be in trouble. There is a sleep waiting.
All right, so here it is. Life going to go inside of the trees. Ho, 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 going to keep doing some damage. DL looking to find him. He's got kinetic field for searching. Decides not to do it. Now, Easy Life will find him. Immediately, Saguchi's to get away, but Vision is popped. Easy Life wants the dive, takes the damage from the tower, and decides it's not worth the trouble.
Yeah, he misses the Nightmare there.
Yeah.
A Nightmare drop into a kinetic field is probably a kill. Maybe he didn't think that he wanted to do it in the tower, and by the time he realized he did, he was in the Weaver had already gotten outside of the range. So the range on that Nightmare is not phenomenal. You have to be really close.
Now they're going to drop this tower very fast, which normally I don't love the idea of towers going down this early in the game because it hurts the laning equilibrium. Hold on a second. DLs comes forward, takes some damage from the rotation. Donbury comes in. Tombstone is down, but it's in the back line, which means that they have plenty of time to get away from it. Tower drops. The retreat is called. Dire walks away with the tower in hand. DL will very likely TP to safety here, and that was exactly what they wanted. They forced out rotations. They got the Tombstone down, and they got nothing for it. So yeah, that was exactly what the Radiant wanted to execute in terms of all of their stuff at the same time, but it was just the positioning was not right. Meanwhile, on the top, Fatality running from Blackjack. Blackjack throws it out there. The big hook, but goes the outside. Fatality has to burn the ultimate, and will get away without any trouble whatsoever. Let's go to mid now, where Yasuri is in some trouble. Easy Life goes to the top, walks right into Undying. He does not have Tombstone. Remember, he had to use it. Yuriko pops the Sanctuary. You're going to do a good job of being able to chase them away. Fighting up to Sanctuary, always dangerous at this stage of the game. Easy Life has to walk through his opponent's jungle, but here comes Ho to get him out. Try to do a little bit of saving here. Easy Life very likely going to go down, but he'll make sure everybody else survives in the meantime.
I've yet to see the fight where...
Well, here comes Weaver. Throws down kinetic field, buys some space. Weaver taking damage from Hoy. Hoy's taking a little long for my liking here. I think he should have just backed off. Yeah. I'm a little worried about... Okay, I was worried that... Never mind. Venge is still level 2.
Yeah. Like, his lane went so well that they can't 2v1 him, even with him this low. As long as the bear's around, he should be absolutely fine, especially with Disruptor floating around here. Bane is back now. I've yet to see the fight where a team decides to fight at the other team's shrine, and it went well.
All right, Yoroka is going to go down. I've turned you up as much as I can on my side, Gorgon, so I don't know if you can get yourself like a 20% up or so like that. All right, so they're currently 2-4. Things going fairly well for Purdue, who I think really needs to represent themselves well in this match. They are, I don't want to say the underdogs, but slightly less favored. If we were to say make their picks before the game, I would have put Purdue at something in the ballpark of like a 42%. So far, though, they've really been executing very well. Immediately move up to the top for this, or the mid for the push. And earlier, what I was going to say is I hate when you see towers go down early because it hurts equilibrium management so much. However, in this lineup against Weaver, who's desperate for farm, I really like the idea of taking it early and forcing Weaver off of that lane. Ultimate's going to get burned by Fatality. Go ahead.
This was part of the game plan all along. Mm-hmm. Remember when you asked me, do you think the Radiant team is going to do well in the mid game? And I said, actually, we got a bit of a fight.
We got a big, nice little fight here. Good play. Kinetic Field comes out. Good throwback to get rid of that Timber Saw. Now he's going to be running for safety as they turn back to play on Endure. Fatality has arrived to try and get involved with the fight, as has Tinker. Puts out the shot. Saguchi going to be used for the back away. Both teams should survive and walk off as the entire Dire team, sans one, had to rotate up here to make sure that nobody died.
Yeah, so during the draft, and I said, well, I think the mid game really kind of falters because a lot of these heroes are basic item dependent, and your Dire side team doesn't really have as much of an issue with that. Probably they're going to scale really well and be able to strip some towers, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Honestly, the fact that UCB are having trouble at this stage in the game is not a surprise. What is a little bit of a surprise is how badly the lane went for them for Endure on the Weaver.
Right.
That probably, I expected them to be able to be a little more aggressive, but their supports weren't able to get levels, and the very, very early and unexpected death of that Weaver really kind of put a stick in the spokes, so to speak.
Absolutely. And if you've ever, I don't know if you have you ever put the sticks in a spoke of somebody riding a bike, because it is a very apropos analogy that you don't understand until you really fully experience it firsthand. Gold lead is about 500. XP is at about 1,000. Purdue feeling pretty good about their game right now. We'll check in with the last hits before we transfer out. Weaver on the lead. Alchemist, Timbersaw not far behind. The game's still relatively even, except for, as you just talked about, that Weaver. Now let's take a quick look. They want to make a move. They found Alchemist. There's no Sanctuary to help him out. His ultimate is running, though, so his regen is exceptional. Endure from behind wants to attack Regulus, but Saguchi's going to end in a potentially dangerous situation. Regulus does manage to get to the high ground. Nice kinetic field just to make sure that everyone is safe, and they do go for the gank. Don't get it, and escape very comfortably as they have been wont to do. We'll flip over to the net worth chart. You're going to see Alchemist is on top as he has been farming very aggressively. That extra rune was able to help him stay on track, even though he was picked off early. Tinker, though, at 4.2k, that worries me a little bit if I am Cal. You don't want to Tinker already with the boots of travel, gonna have his next pieces up here relatively soon, and I think that split push could cause a lot of trouble for Endure and the Alchemist as they try to get their farm up and running.
Yeah, the problem here, too, is that you see Alchemist at the 6,000 mark, and you're like, oh, Alchemist is doing pretty well, but he's doing a Radiance build, so he's got another 4,000 before he's useful at all. And you've already got your safe lane tower stripped. Taking a look at the Lone Druid, he's already got his Dragonlance, and you can see this Weaver can't handle it. Weaver can't get within attack range of the Lone Druid unless he's Shikuchi's in, which puts him at great risk of taking a lot more damage than he deals. Tinker's Soul Ring is up now as well, which is just going to make it that much more difficult to track him down, and he should be able to spam out on these towers pretty effectively. This is a real golden opportunity for Boots to assess here from Purdue. Like, Centaur has all the time in the world now in order to get his Blink Dagger up because there's really just so much pacing control that can come out of this Tinker and this Lone Druid, even though the Lone Druid isn't even that farmed yet.
Yeah, and I was skeptical about Purdue's draft initially just because I worried a lot about that tri-lane causing so much trouble for them getting off the ground. It didn't. Every lane seems to have finished relatively comfortable. Even the Centaur, who was sort of working alone up on top, is still in the top 5 net worth and is doing a great job of not getting picked off by rotations. I don't know. I mean, if you are Cal, do you feel pretty comfortable where you are? Are you starting to worry? What do you have to do?
I think it really depends on how this Timbersaw is feeling, because he's been doing very well. We haven't focused on him a whole lot, but in terms of up against that Centaur, he won that lane very handily, as he should.
Right.
Like that is a very favorable matchup for Timbersaw, but he did really, really well. He should have Bloodstone up here any minute. Never mind, he's going to die bottom. Flip down there just in time to watch the laser finish that off. Tinker obviously really good against Timbersaw in terms of damage because he has that huge pure damage nuke.
Right, and it does, so you don't have to worry about the big issue with Timber right now, right, is picking him off because of his regeneration and how incredible it can be during the fight. That doesn't matter when you're getting completely wrecked in 3 shots.
Right. Yeah. So if the Timbersaw is dying before buying Bloodstone, or especially after buying Bloodstone, I suppose, then you're really starting to worry, right? But right now, things are going kind of according to the plan that they expected. They didn't expect to be winning at this stage in the game. They need their Alchemist to get a Radiance before they can even really get involved. Weaver's behind, and
Alchemist has been isolated here. Easy Life going to go ahead, puts up the Fiend's Grip, locks him in place. It was actually a really nice combo. The stun comes out. Can they get him down? He's trying to survive death. Endure wants to make the high ground. He goes for Easy Life, but the vision is there. Zaps himself backwards, runs away. Kinetic Field locks him down. Goes Saguchi, but can't get out of range. Meanwhile, Hoi Hoi doing some serious damage, trying to clear out all of the... oh, man. The Swarm is down. Down goes both cores. Did you see that? It was beautiful timing. So basically what they did was Easy Life waited for the Alchemist to get here, hit him with the Fiend's Grip, and then Disruptor pulled him back to here. So he was being Fiend's Gripped way outside of the range of rescue, and there was just nothing that the team could do to save him. Unfortunately, Weaver decided to try anyway.
Yeah, that was a very, very good swarm, though, from the Weaver. Like, that swarm almost single-handedly killed the Disruptor, and it's only level 2. So you can imagine if, instead of a full Shikuchi build, this Weaver had gone into, like, 3-3-1, that would be a dead Disruptor.
Also,
or if the Tombstone had been up. That would
a big shout-out to Purdue. I think the Lone Druid and the rest of the Purdue team showed really good self-control. They had the Alchemist locked up. They had the fight going on with with Endure, and he had the wherewithal to take him and the bear off of the cores to make sure that Disruptor lived, to clear out all of the swarm very effectively and quickly, and then return to the fight. So really smart play, non-greedy play by Lone Druid to make sure that happened and his team was safe.
Yeah, that was probably really good communication, too, from the support saying we need help clearing out the swarm, because they didn't do it right away, right? They let the swarm sit around for a really long time. It got a lot of damage out, but as soon as it really mattered, everybody turned on to it all at the same time. It just really good cohesion from the squad, not just there, but overall.
Absolutely. So far, very smart play by Purdue. 2-7 is what the score shows. The gold shows 1,000 lead. And honestly, having that... Okay, so 1,000 net worth, when you look at it, doesn't seem like a lot for Purdue, except for the fact that the other team has an alchemist with an 8.3k. So now your team net worth is higher than your opponent's, and your opponent's entire net worth is sunk into one hero, essentially.
Yeah, it's really, really dangerous to have a lot of your net worth on one hero when you're behind. Even if that hero's not dying, you're losing a lot of net worth because of that.
It's one of the few situations where your team can be ahead in net worth and still get value from killing the team that's behind, right? Because of one powerful hero. Now look, oh wow, nice play by Disruptor, a massive kinetic into static storm that just wiped those two heroes off of the field. I mean, there was nothing that they could do there.
Yeah, this Timbersaw does have Bloodstone up now, but I feel like the window has passed for that to be a truly useful item. Like the Tinker has a Blink Dagger up now, Boots of Travel up. He's able to completely spam out on these towers, as I had mentioned during the draft, being really, really good against this Weaver, especially, right?
Yeah.
Weaver can't get any... He's moves too fast, and he's far too fragile to walk over these machines. He hits far more of them than the average hero does, because he's in a Shikuchi. With high move speed, you're moving over greater area, which means that there's just more surface area for you to run into those goddamn little beasties.
Right. And, you know, it's also one of those things where we talk about how powerful Bloodstone is on the Timbersaw, but, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it's really only that powerful because if you get it up quickly, you start to build those stacks up to where you're unkillable, whereas right now, he gets picked off once or twice, and Bloodstone becomes really virtually useless.
Yeah, I don't want to say that it's not a good item here. Obviously,
Fair.
it is. Just the mana allows him to defend towers more effectively with Chakram. It makes him more survivable.
But it makes him less of the
himself.
juggernaut that we're used to when we watch him played.
Right. And the thing is, that item more than most items is really good if you get it really early.
Right.
And this Timbersaw got off to a start that made it look like he was going to get it fairly early, considering the condition that his team was in. And then he got killed once, and it threw the whole thing into disarray.
Tipper went with the 20% XP gain. I haven't looked at Dota Buff on sort of what the preferred talents are. Is that the right call over the 150 health at this stage of the game?
No.
Okay. I thought maybe I was wrong.
No. So, I mean, there are very niche situations that you might want to go for XP, but generally speaking, there are only 4 heroes in the game. We'll have to come back to this.
Are they going to make the move into the mid tower? Big fight. Blackjack going to go to the high. Goes after Easy Life. Easy Life out the back door. Regulus. Nice defense. Those kinetic fields have been straight fire from DL. Blinks to safety. Tinker gets out. Everyone's low because the static field was placed in exactly the right position against that kinetic to cause the most damage. We're going to see a fight go out now. Bane is going to manage to go down here, so they do get the Bane, but that's it. I thought they'd get a lot more out of the way that they had that catch by Blackjack, but really nice play by DL to get most of his team out of trouble.
That was really awkward for the Bane, right?
Yeah.
Because not only did he did cast his ult there on the Timbersaw and then panic canceled it. So his ult is down for another 90 seconds, and then he went back into the fight by himself on the wrong side of the river and just kind of died. It looked like he wasn't really communicating with his team.
He was a little bit out.
As well as we're used to. Yeah, but Undying is going to go down, and everybody else is going to have to back up, or this Tinker will just kill them. So this is a dead tower.
Yeah.
Dead to rights.
This is a dead tower, and in a couple of ways it feels like maybe a little bit of a dead Radiant Soul, as that Tinker just comes in and shows how much damage he does. Ho-Hoi, or Hoi-Ho, has a double damage rune, so they can't fight into him right now, and they just tear down this middle lane. Immediately, Dire sends the rest of their squad down to bottom to defend and presumably push. And Lone Druid will go back, get a little bit of farm in the jungle, and go farm up the top lane. So Purdue not wasting any time or any farm on this map. KSED trying very hard to find more. We do have the Radiance up, but it's 19 minutes into the game. They're having trouble sort of winning these fights right now, and looks like 14 Bloodstone charges on the Timbersaw Bloodstone.
Yeah, so to answer your question about that Timbersaw, there are only 4 heroes in Dota that win more on average when they pick an XP option. Out of all the heroes that have XP options, there's only 4. It's Broodmother, Visage, Bounty Hunter, and Keeper of the Light, I think. None of them win by a wide margin.
Right, and I would assume most of them are played in support roles when they pick it up.
Yeah, it has variation because they have different offsets as well,
right.
which makes it, like for the Broodmother, for example, really her innate kit is very good if you get it off with momentum,
right?
And that's why you need to get her. Timbersaw, you don't need a lot of really fast levels to absolutely dominate. He does better with farm, to be honest. He does better with survivability, and moreover, if the game goes long enough for that XP to really pay off, then the XP option has capped out. Whereas the 150 health option continues to scale into the game because you continue to get more armor, which gives you more effective HP out of that 150.
All right, so a little bit of a theory from you there. That said, Blackjack starting to get himself back into this match, feeling a little bit better about where his hero is sitting. Now let's take a look at the mid. It looks like they swap Easy Life into an uncomfortable position. He won't be in trouble. The ultimate is popped by fatalities. It looks like they're trying to go for I thought they'd go for a kill, but they sort of just run in opposite directions here. DL throws down the Static Storm, doesn't get anybody with it. This is a dangerous spot for Purdue. They've got to back away. They've really been depending on that ultimate to come out from DL in these team fights to really make them effective. I think they were trying to make a lunge to catch Blackjack, but it just didn't happen. A little bit of miscommunication. Purdue seems like they're in a position. Oh, this is really bad for Easy Life. Again, goes to the high ground and just gets completely erased from the map. DL has to throw down his defensive kinetic field. He will get away, but it feels like Purdue got ahead and then has pulled the classic CSL move of sort of letting that team planning languish a little bit and giving up some really, I don't want to say important kills, it's just a Bane, but it's been twice, and these guys, you don't give an inch to a Radiant team with an Alchemist.
Right, but it's not just, well, I'll have to come back to that.
Well, not much to see there. It's a little more deletion. Donburi, though, this is a big play. Fatality comes in, gets up the stun. They pull back Donburi. He goes down. Fatality low, wants to chase. KSCD has to pop his ultimate. Going to go to the high ground. Blackjack also mobile. Gets himself out of trouble. Get a double pick. The TP from Tinker going to show up. He's here to fight now. The top is being pushed. Blackjack has to fall back. This should be a mid tower. I can't see much resistance to get it. Endura says, I'll just take a top since, you're going to take my mid anyway and try to push a little bit extra farm.
Yeah, and Endura is desperately trying to get a Linken's up. He does have the Dragonlance, which is helping him push a little bit, but it's going to be a long road before he gets that Linken's up. Yeah.
Bear will go down. Ho will immediately summon the next one.
Yeah, but here's what I will say, is that they did give up some important kills. It's not that the Bane is particularly important to kill, or that he was worth a whole ton, although he was worth a modern amount, because there is a gold lead, right? It's not a substantial gold lead, though. So that Bane's positioning hasn't necessarily put his team in dire straits. But his whole team, 5 members, have been kind of standing around and not getting a lot out of it. Whereas the Alchemist does have Boots of Travel, does have Radiant, has for a little while, and has been getting out and doing some catch-up.
Well, I mean, he's almost on his Manta. Yeah, he's 400 gold away from a finished Manta.
Right, so he's 4,000 net worth above the lone Druid, and he can do a lot with that if his opponents are just going to ignore him while he split pushes, especially if the Weaver is also going to be ignored while he split pushes.
Yep.
So I would say that the Dire side, they do need to take advantage of this moment where they are stronger.
Yeah.
Because they're not a lot stronger. They're not ahead by a bunch.
Well, I mean, you said that the strategy for Dire, the way that they sort of built, and we both looked at it, was that they're going to want to push, they're going to want to use this Tinker to clear lanes and manage towers. The fact is, though, they've had the advantage, and they still have 2 tiers 2s up that they would like to have down by now. So, speaking of which, they're going to pop a smoke, head up to the high ground here. They've got lots of vision down for tracking purposes. They know where Purple is, and they want to try to make a move on him. They're going to come in from behind, endure dangerously close to the tower. There's the stomp, immediately Fiend's Grip. This will be a very dead, very, very stomped Weaver, and that'll allow them to push into this tier 2. They should get it. It looks like Radiant will say, we'll take a tier 1 as a consolation prize. This is exactly what Dire needed. We were just talking about it, and they executed perfectly.
Yeah, but they are going to trade a tower for it looks like, and if this turns into a fight mid...
So they do pull back. Donburi gets locked in, so he will go down. Throws the tombstone, but it'll be an easy tombstone wipeout. These tombstones been in some tough positions here. Easy Life gets chased by Blackjack as they finished off the tower. He probably will be safe here, but even if he goes down, it's a trade that I think that they're not mad about. Okay, so they actually think about going back in, turn back around, blink up by fatality. Timbersaw says, ruh-roh, let me get out of here. And he'll run back to the tower. Well, not the tower anymore. The tower was killed. They'll run back to base as Weaver prepares to respawn. Now, look at the dire warding here. They are prepared to push into this middle tower ASAP.
Yeah. Honestly, what they really need to do is just get any tier 3. Like, the mid tier 2 is nice. They should be able to get it here, but any tier 3 so they can strip shrines would be pretty important. This Timbersaw's dead, though.
Astronomical from these farmers. So Timber gets caught out. Fatality with the jump in. Big static storm into kinetic field. No one can really go into it, so we will see the death of the Timber. He goes down. Was unable. He didn't have the Bloodstone deny because he was silenced, or just didn't click fast enough?
I just think he just didn't do it, yeah.
Okay. So he goes down, no Bloodstone deny. Bloodstone's going to drop to 10 charges. They will take out the tier 2, and now in just a matter of minutes have done exactly what we said they wanted to do. I was worried about those towers still up. They take out both and then farm out the entire map. So like you said, the next big one, take one tier 3, clear out the sanctuaries, and really sort of put the kibosh on the potential farm that Radiant needs to make sure that they stay in this game. Once those sanctuaries go down, Radiant finds themselves in a very uncomfortable position in their own jungle. They already are with the amount of vision that Dire's got up right now, but sanctuary down means that they can't TP for rotations, they can't rescue K-Stead if he's out farming, and that I think could really hurt them because they're going to have to spread out to stop the split push from this Tinker.
Yeah, they absolutely will. The Roche should drop here pretty easily as well. They don't have a lot of ways to knock him down fast on the Dire side, but they have a lot of space to do it, so they should be able to knock him down. Lone Druid has the damage. Put an Aegis maybe on the Centaur, maybe on the Lone Druid, on somebody.
Easy life, Invis, going to go forward, looking to get a Fiend's Grip on somebody. He sees the Timber, but Timber was just out of range. Would have been a kill for him as they had a couple of Blink heroes on standby to jump in there and get the nukes. Meanwhile, they're going to head to the top. Easy Life still checking all the farm spots with his invisibility. Rotates around, says, hey, we're clear for the Roche. Nobody in range. Into Roche they go. They'll burn it down, just like you said, and get themselves really in a position to take apart Radiant. Radiant realizes what's happening. They pop a smoke. They're going to rotate in. The bear comes forward. He's not going to spot anyone. Now comes, okay, everybody. Big engagement. Fatality pops the ultimate. Moves to the high. Easy Life gets the Fiend's Grip up on the Timbersaw. Ho-Ho putting out a lot of damage. What a play. Disruptor with a great static storm. Puts 2 down. Endure and Blackjack have to play careful here. Endure is going to go down. No! Just in time. Hits the time lapse. But will it be enough as he's pulled back and locked in place? Fatality with the blink stun. Endure goes down. A mega kill for Hoi Ho. And they'll go right back in and kill themselves a Roche. They pop the vision just in case. To the high ground, Timbersaw's got nowhere to go. Regulus thinks he wants to come out and throw some nukes down, but he'll just protect Hoi Ho as they all stay on the outside, make sure nobody can jump in to try and get a potential steal. March for zoning purposes, and they get kills and an Aegis. No questions asked.
Can I just point, like, not only has the positioning been absolutely perfect from this Disruptor, his placement of his spells has been spot on. He's been deferring farm to his team, but even his talent tree decisions really speak to an understanding of the role that he's playing in this team. A lot of supports go for the extra gold. It's right. More common in almost every hero. There are very, very few heroes for which the gold option is actually the better option, just mathematically, let alone win rate wise. And Disruptor has gotten a couple of kills because of that little extra 100 cast range gives him the ability to stay safe, but also get his team extra kills. If he gets just one extra kill within the first 3 to 6 minutes that he has that, it's been better for the rest of the game.
Uh-oh, Ho-Ho in a little bit of trouble. They're going to make the jump in. He gets caught inside of a static field. He'll get to the outside. Kinetic goes down. They're in a little bit of trouble here as Blackjack stuck on the inside. Fatality comes in with the stomp. Boom! Disruptor pays the ultimate price. Gets knocked outside. Buyback from the Tinker who went down as well. Fatality dropping low. Blackjack putting in some work. Regulus from the outside wants to get some done. Blackjack clears out the trees, but they lost the Centaur. They've lost a lot. Hoi-Ho is low. He's got the Aegis, though. He's coming back up. Blackjack praying for a miracle. He goes down. Regulus taking a lot of damage. Can he get himself out of trouble? They could really use a kill on him, but he blinks to safety. Pops out some missiles. Drops the Alchemist. Alchemist doing everything he can to stay alive, but Easy Life and Hoi, they're putting in the work, and now they turn back around. Gem of True Sight on the ground. Get themselves that Bane, and that's the problem with the K-Said. Regen wants to move in on Ho-Ho. Ho-Ho's Storm's got to run for the high ground. Regulus comes back forward, tries to get the nukes out, but K-Said still regenning at an outrageous rate. Endure comes in to help out. K-Said very low. He does go down. Regulus, skinny dodge the swarm. He does. Hoy Hoy gets the follow-up. They killed the Alchemist, and somehow Regulus managed to survive as he gets to the high ground.
Yeah, that was a buyback on the Tinker, too. If he had died there, that would have been absolutely huge. That was a really good play by UCB at the rating side. They knew they needed to take an opportunity. It's very risky to make a play like that into an opponent that has an Aegis advantage, but there was no point in this game where they were going to get another opportunity for map control. The fact that Purdue backed off and ceded any sort of map control there, especially considering Purdue had just picked up a gem, right? This was the only window UCB were going to have, and I think they did very well with it. They may be pushed a little too far, but at the end of the day, they've closed the net worth gap by about 3,000.
Yep. You got to do what you got to do when you see the opportunities. And they made a play. The Bloodstone, by the way, on the Blackjack now down to 8 charges, though he does have a Lotus Orb up. For posterity's sake, Ho-Ho is farming ridiculously well with his Eye of Scotty as he stacks that up on top of a Mjolnir. Demon's Edge on standby. This is becoming a little bit ridiculous. Ho-Ho's going to have a lot of push potential. Tinker, like we've seen, is already getting kills. He's got the Ag Scepter up and running, the Blink Dagger, the Boots of Travel. So even if they get to a point where they just don't want to team fight the Alchemist anymore, he does have Octarine Orb, by the way. I don't know, because even if they say you've become too powerful to fight, they could still win through a split push.
Yeah, it's tough to say for sure, but that last fight may have gone a little bit better for. If instead of going for Scotty first, the Monkey King Bard come out first, which is his next item, right? Because the mischance from Radiance has actually been a pretty big issue for this Lone Druid specifically. And a lot of his damage just didn't land last fight. That said, you're probably not going to get another fight in which that mischance does anything if you are UCB. That was probably the last one, because the True Strike is almost built.
Right. All right, so they will keep pushing forward. Regulus doing his typical Tinker play that makes me hate him so much as he just sits out, zones out lanes, stays in the trees, can't find him. Ho-Ho, apparently it's not an eye, it's a line, is playing the Lone Druid very effectively, and speaking of which, they're going to smoke and head straight down towards the bottom lane, it looks like, or did they try to sort of slip in and... You want to push the lane, right? You want that tier 3, so... What's
the nice thing for Radiant, for UCB out of that last fight is they reclaimed the gem.
True.
And they can keep vision up now, which they could not do before. They can also strip dire vision if they move around as a group, which I would think is their plan here. Or play.
Don Buri gets bowled over as a nice little pick. Easy Life goes ahead, puts him in the Fiend's grip. Here come the TPs. They want to fight under the Sanctuary. It's their chance to do so. Out comes a nice play by the Disruptor. Puts down the Static Storm to stop the TPs. KSED low. He goes down. Don Buri is getting away, or will. He gets pulled back in. They do kill the Disruptor, but Don Buri ends up dropping. Blackjack locked in place. Good swap by the Venge. Saves himself with the Yules, but for how long? Gets a nice pull-up fatality with the charge, though. They're in range. They kill him. It's a 4-man wipe. All Endure can do is watch from a distance to try to scam a little bit of farm. This should allow them to push the top lane. No, they TP out, so they're going to push mid, it looks like. No buybacks. This should be the tower they need to get those sanctuaries, possibly even a barracks.
So that was the very rare fight where a team chooses to fight on top of their opponent's shrine, and it goes very well. And the reason it went very well there is because shrines do not provide vision, and UCB teleported into it not knowing what was with.
Yep.
Very, very risky call. They had a gem. They probably should have had vision of that shrine area up by that point for safety for that situation. Right. If they had had a ward up anywhere in that area remotely.
Well, and again, it came down, DL watched the TPs come in. Right before the first TP fully activated, he threw down Static Storm. So anyone TPing in is basically locked in place and has no ability to contribute to the fight until they run themselves out of the Static Storm, which was just too much. You saw Alchemist run left, you saw Don Buri run right, and nobody was staying together for the benefit of the Sanctuary. So you're basically fighting on a Sanctuary without being able to Sanctuary.
Right, and you're right. It does come down to that Disruptor putting down the Static Storm really well. And then the fact that UCB kind of re-engaged sort of half-heartedly anyway, even though that was clearly a lost engagement. The Weaver ran back in, the Timbersaw ran back in.
Yeah.
And you honestly, sometimes you just got to cut your losses, right? The Undying died. It happened. Just let it happen and prepare to defend high ground. It's much more defensible than blind TPing into a shrine.
Absolutely. Now, I will say that UCB feels like a team that is playing with the mentality of this, we've lost this game, let's just see what we can salvage and then move on to the next one. Because some of these engagements don't feel like they're making the same calls that they have in past games or earlier in this match, where they're just sort of, I don't want to say one of following typical Dota logic, maybe a little bit of that, what's Eternal Envy say, when you're losing this bad, break all the rules, make the other team question reality, and a little bit of that fight felt like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't really have the pushing power to make anybody question reality. You know, if you're losing, but you have the ability to make something happen, do it 100%. But simply running it maybe doesn't do them the service that they're hoping for. But really, they have good high ground defense, right?
Yeah.
Like they're gonna try to smoke out again. They have control of the gem. If this goes badly, this is
Game.
Pretty much the game, right?
So Fatality is by himself, or is he? They'll spot him, they'll move on him, but the rest of the team is not far away. Sanctuary TPs come out. KSED says, I need a little bit of fire to make up for the smoke, but the chase is on. Ho-Ho leads the charge as they come in from the bottom. They want to try to cut off this escape. It's a fight that Dire wants to take on their side of things. Hanabi is going to TP away. KSED gets out as well. No one dies, but a big wasted rotate. Wait a minute, Dombori, that's that plus 100 range you were talking about. DL basically just barely picks him off at max distance and gets a kill out of what I thought was going to be a total escape. 100 range, man.
Yeah.
100 range.
It's really good on this hero. So the issue with smoking out there too is, what do you do if you get some kills? Right, they're not going to be able to capitalize onto a tower if they get kills there. Really, their most defensible position is in their base right now. If they could get some vision out, use the gem just to get control of the area around their base. They have an alchemist with the radiance. It's not like they can't keep lanes pushed.
Right.
And obviously they have a low percentage chance to win here. But if they make mistakes, or if they play too aggressive because they feel like they have a low percentage chance to win, that low percentage chance just gets lower.
Right.
It doesn't get higher if they start to panic. So I'd like to see them play a little more defensively.
And as you just saw, they defended the high ground without any issues whatsoever. Now, that said, it did feel more like the guys from Purdue were interested in just pushing them into base and then going to get their Roche, which if they check right now, they'll see he's up. Ho-Ho will come back around and presumably farm it very quickly. Meanwhile, Fatality and Easy Life go ahead and clear the Sanctuary so that nobody can respond to stopping the Roche once they decide to do it. Disruptor puts down a kinetic field just to give some vision of any potential rotations, and it looks like they're going to try to stop it.
Once again, this is a situation where Radiant has had control of the game's only gem for, how long have I been harping on this? Like 7 minutes or so?
Yeah.
And they still don't have rune control. They don't have a rune anywhere near Roche. They don't have their opponents, or ward control, excuse me. They don't have their opponents' wards knocked down. They spent a smoke. Then they put one ward up. With the smoke spent, honestly, the best thing they could do, better than a kill, is get up some secret wards. And now the Bane has bought a gem, so that time has passed. But on replay, if UCB watches this replay, I hope they notice that they had the opportunity to take a little bit of map control back in terms of vision, and they missed it.
So a nice play here. They fake the Sanctuary. They then rotate away as if they're not interested in taking a fight. And under the noses of the Radiant go in and start to push the Roche. We do see a counter. Blackjack wants to try to jump in, potentially to go for the steal. Outside's the fight break out. Lots of kinetic field, lots of acid spray. In comes Alchemist, pops the BKB. Everyone gathered around wants to make this happen. K said in a little bit of trouble. His regen's about to end. Caught from behind. Ho-Ho putting out a lot of damage with the Scotty, but a nice play by Blackjack to do some damage. We're going to see Regulus coming in, throwing out the nukes. Death to the Alchemist is a huge deal. Venge goes down as well. Regulus going to TP out for the time being. Ho-Ho finishes off the job on the Timbersaw, walks in and casually gets the Aegis, and this will be a push right down the lane. They'll finish off some more Rex. I think that this feels very game to me. Yes, Alchemist has a buyback, but all that's going to do is slow it down.
Yeah, the Timbersaw does not have a buyback, and he has a 4-charge Bloodstone.
Yeah.
He hasn't gotten an item since, like, maybe
1927
ago. Yeah, so... yeah, we're...
10,000. I mean,
we're looking at...
Look at it. It's a 10,000 gold lead for Purdue. I'm sorry, 20,000 or 20,000 experience. Gold is at 10,000, and there's an alchemist who's a 28. He's a 28K net worth alchemist on the other side, and you're still rocking a 10K net worth. I mean, that's.
But the problem is a large portion of that 28K has 0K of value.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Radiance mischance does not matter this game anymore.
Right.
Because there's True Strike, there's a Monkey King bar up on the Lone Druid, and nobody else has right clicks that are of import.
Right.
Right. So that mischance is a big reason why you buy the Radiance. It helps your team fight so much.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't leverage it for some sort of control before your opponents that right click are able to get Monkey King bars, it's really just not that valuable of an item. It helps them like split push a little bit, but obviously that's not working out too much either.
All right, they're going to swap Ho-Ho to the high ground. He pops the BKB, melts the Venge, turns on Donburi, who's going to get bowled over. Easy double pick. It was sort of a desperation engagement, I guess, from the two of them, hoping he'd be by himself. Not going to happen. Easy Life comes forward. He's got the 4 staff off in 7 seconds. Not going to be in range of KSED, who'll get to the high ground, and this should be a bottom lane push as Easy Life and the rest of the team is here on standby. Regulus will go to the top lane to push that out so that if they do group up to stop the bottom, they'll run into some trouble with the top. And it looks like everyone will be up for the push potentially, but I just don't know if they've got what it takes to stop the Aegis packing Ho-Ho. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Aegis
he's
is not
just going to run right up onto the high ground as well because he feels perfectly safe. Like he does not have an Aegis, but like he doesn't need it. Is really what it comes down to. BKB is going to be up in 25 seconds, and yeah, I don't know what you do.
Regulus in there with the Aegis, takes the blunt of the damage. Nice play again by Disruptor with the zone out. Venge sacrifices her life, but not before the Fiend script goes out. Alchemist locked up through most of his regen. BKB running. They've picked off 2. The buyback's available on the Undying, but he's not spamming it, which tells me that maybe the towel is being thrown. Timbersaw goes down. Regulus works out the Alchemist. Alchemist evade, and pray. Not going to happen. Ends up going down. Endure comes in, gives his life as well. Buyback from the Alchemist. No buyback from Endure. KSED trying to finish Regulus, who will go down but come right back up if he does go down. And KSED will die for the second time. Double buyback. Timbersaw, everyone else, not going to make a difference. Donburi can't do much. DL backs away to safety without the harass. They will finish the tower, they will finish the racks, and they will very likely finish the game right here as Timbersaw goes down for the second time.
That's a real shame because that's probably a winnable fight if you have an instant buyback from the Undying. Like he had Tombstone ready shortly after he died. Flesh Golem came back up, and his opponents were kind of splayed in across their base. I don't think that it changes the outcome of the game, but it could have given them a little bit more hope and maybe ended the game on a more positive note for them as they kind of roll psychological momentum into game 2. It looked, you were right, it looked like the Undying had given up on the game.
Yep. It looked like it looked like he was typing, "Let's just GG," and his team said, "No, we fight to the bitter end," which is abundantly clear by the fact that they haven't GG'd, right?
Yeah. They're going to make their opponents actually destroy the throne.
And I respect that especially in the CSL. These aren't pro players, right? They are apt to potentially make mistakes. Now, 1239 with a net worth of 20,000 advantage is going to have to be a hell of a mistake, but you just don't give up.
Yeah, the throne is being knocked down here. 30 seconds before Alchemist is up.
Yeah.
And
there's
at
the
this
GG.
point, we're just waiting for it to happen.
All right, so Purdue, the underdogs in this match, come out and completely eradicate Callow. I mean, Cal just lost that early game, found themselves in a tough situation, and really shutting down the Weaver paid off dividends for the Dyers. So great game by them, guys. That's Purdue taking game 1 of our 3-game series. My name's Toffees. You can find me at Toffees TV. I'm joined by Gorgon the Wonder Cow. You can find him at the Wonder Cow over on Twitter. You can find all of us at C Star League. Don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be back with game 2 in just a few minutes. A big shout out to our sponsors, Asus, the guys from... Oh my goodness, why am I blanking right now?
Hey, it's Asus. It's Band Gaming.
And Band. Asus, Twitch, and Band. Thank you to supporting us.
Twitch, yeah.
Here's some words from
by
them.
the way,
right
I think we can just real quick. I don't think there's going to be any argument that Disruptor DL got Band Player of the Game, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen Static Storms that well placed in a very long time. So beautiful play by him, well executed game, and the Band Player of the Game again, in case you missed it, is the Disruptor. Good job, DL. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with the next match in just a minute.